What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Pixelbane here for another Dominions 4 AI battles. This time we're still in the lower bracket, or I guess we should call it the lower division, because it's not a loser's bracket, it's just the lower division, because they're all equal here. It's a single elimination tournament, and I'm going to do something a little different for you guys today. This match is going to be and they got Hephaestus, I believe, the Greek god of forging, so I guess the RNG helped out with that. And I believe they're versing Pythium here, which is another fragmentation empire of Airmore. And their god is Eliphanor, I believe. We're going to find out, but I wanted to do something different and show you guys the bracket. So you people on YouTube that maybe don't want to go to my Twitch or don't know I have a Twitch, don't know that I stream this, that you can just look at this amazing bracket that we have going on here. So as you can see, the upper bracket's almost completely finished. We have a upper bracket finals coming up with Pangea versus Asphodel. I'm saving that until we complete the lower bracket up until the same point, so that I'm hoping, what I'm planning here, and it might be unable to be done because, you know, we had 2 matches yesterday that were 2 hours long each. So if we get another situation like that, I don't think my plan's gonna work out. But my plan is essentially to have the 2 upper bracket and lower bracket finals, and then have the grand tournament on the same day. But today, as you see, we have versus Pythium. The winner here will be going against Zibalba, I don't know, I didn't expect them to win. They're the underdog for the most of the last match. But without too much further ado, let us get into it. It looks like I am playing Ys as my faction, I guess. But Pythium's already moving out. And thanks to Alleycat for hosting me here. I really appreciate any host that anyone puts out for me. I thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And this is Pythium's forces. And as I said, they're a splinter faction of Airmore. So they're like, they got the tower shields and whatnot. And I think they are, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say things that I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure they're splinter faction of Airmore. Their main like gimmick is their hydras, which makes me want to say that they're not, like they're more based around Greek. But look at these tower shields. I mean, come on. So they can get 1 like Elder Hydra per turn. We're gonna check out that real quick after we check out the map generation here. So we have basically a land main mass of a world here with a central lake. So we don't have like continents here. We have a singular continent, I guess, in a sense. So this is kind of good for them. I know I'm starting to sound like a cliche streamer, Alleycat. I'm trying. But anyway, so this is the Hydra. They can only get 1 per month. Luckily, not luckily. If it was a holy point thing, Pythium here could get 6 per turn because of their Dominion strength. But look at this. This thing is amazing. It's got 5 attacks. 5 attacks per turn. And they all, I think, have poison damage on them. And they do. And the poison itself is a magic damage, so it can hit ethereal beings. So that works for them. And also, a really cool thing about them is this poison cloud ability. The normal Hydra, as well as the babies that they can get as many as they want per turn, have this poison cloud ability. This is where I'm concerned about the AI here, because their normal units don't have poison resistance, and we've seen the AI make some weird placement calls. So if they place a Hydra in the center of their units are going to be taking that poison damage. One of their other key factors here, I guess they have a lot of key factors. They have standard bearers. They have these guys right here, the third communicants. They allow their mages to cast spells easier. Oh, thanks Ardos for following. I appreciate it. I sound like a YouTube video. That's what I'm trying, because I upload these to my YouTube channel. But thank you, Ardos, for following. Another one of their key features is these serpent cataphracts. So they're basically serpent-mounted cavalry. They don't have any abilities attached to them, which kind of sucks. You would assume that, you know, they're a poison-based nation, magic-based nation. So you would assume that they're like, I don't know, like the weird like lizard guys would have poison resistance. So unfortunately, they do not. So their god, I think their god is dormant or imprisoned. So we're not going to see their stats for that. But as for their dominion here, as we're covering all these basics before we really get into the match, they have 2 peace, 2 production, 3 heat. So the heat, I think they prefer heat scale 0. So this is a huge negative on their production and their growth. However, they do have 2 growth in general, 1 luck and 3 drain, which actually is kind of counterintuitive because they're a magic-based nation. So that's a real detriment to them. As for Ulm here, their god as well is dormant, so we're not going to see him for a couple turns. They have 3 production, 3 peace, 3 growth, 3 luck, 3 drain, which is actually not a negative in this case for them, because we're going to cover that right now as we look in their units. Ulm is one of my favorite factions in this game. I've played them a lot, so I have a little bit more experience with them. So if we look at this Master Smith here, you see this Mundane Researcher. This ability right here does not have the negatives attached to the Mundane magic scale here. So they actually can research in Mundane just as well as a normal, so they can benefit from it. And as well, they get a research bonus every time you build one of these guys. So you can get incredibly high like resources to build more and more units. Your voice isn't that bad. Nah, you guys don't stop selling yourselves short. Gotta be confident. So anyway, they're very resource heavily I'm trouble speaking. They're a really resource-dependent nation, so they have to be building these smiths. And if we don't see that, that might be an issue here for them. But they have a large variety of units. A lot of them have different attack values, so some of them use slashing, some of them use blunt. So basically, they can do anything. They have a lot of tower shields, so they can have a strong front line. They have pretty decent cavalry in their Black Knights here, and they have these Guardians here, which have a magical effect that causes curse damage, I believe? Or is this... Okay, it's just plain 15 magic damage against enemy sacred units, so that really works out for them. But let's continue on. We've covered all the basics here. We're gonna wait until we see some gods before we cover any more basics about them. But if I was gonna pick, I have some experience with Pythium. I have way more experience with Ulm here. So I would say my money's on Ulm. Mainly because I have experience with them, but as well as if Pythium goes for the Hydra strat, and they build lesser and greater Hydras, and they place them in bad positions, they're gonna lose their units. Yeah, I don't think your voice is bad at all. Like, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. I actually hate my voice, so I think everyone hates their own voice to some extent. Maybe not super narcissist people, I guess, but like I'm pretty sure everyone's a little self-conscious of how they actually sound, because you sound different, So you guys don't sell yourself short. Gotta be positive all the time. But as we see, we're having Pythium here pushing out against these lizard men. And once again, I'm gonna keep commenting every time I see it. These javelins right here, these javelins are amazing. Javelins on any of the Roman-based units in this game are just great in general. It allows their skirmish units to just move up and do maybe 1 or 2 range attacks, lowering the morale of the enemy as well as doing damage. It really works out for them. So Pythium is actually having a stronger start than Ulm here, which is I'm very disappointed in my boys, my Hephaestus and Ulm. What are you guys doing? What is this unit placement? Oh, this is completely wrong. These guys on the front, these really long spear pike guys, these pikeneers, they have a longer attack range than the shield guys. They're also a little bit faster. So what they would need to do if the AI was making some really good tactical calls, they would have to place these shield guys in the front so they have a strong front line. Right now they're losing units unnecessarily against these wolf tribe, or deer tribe rather, not wolf tribe. Yeah, it does require a lot of effort being optimistic all the time, Allie. It really does. But it pays off, when you're happy, or at least trying to be happy, and you might not be actually super happy in real life, it starts to actually start to change your outlook. I don't know, it's my personal experience. Like, even when I'm upset, if I'm forcing myself to be happy, eventually I start cheering up. I don't know, it's all about mindset for me, I'm a little weird, so maybe I don't know. I don't know. Let's concentrate on the game, Pixel Bane. Let's concentrate on the game. All right, so Pythium, as I said, any of the Roman-based units, or the factions rather, the Airmore Splinter factions in the Middle Ages, we've seen a lot of them. I think there's like 4 of them in the Middle Ages. They're incredibly strong because they have early access to the tower shields, and the tower shields prevent so much extra damage done to them. It's very good for them. It allows them to push out against the neutrals. And what we're seeing right now is a bunch of Ictiids. That's how you pronounce it? Ictiids? Yeah, it's gotta be Ictiids. Like, It's got to be Ichthyids. I can't possibly be saying that wrong, though. I mean, maybe it's possible. So these Ichthyids here by Pythium are indeed the mercenaries, one of the mercenaries that you can get, and I do value them quite high. I mean, they're dying against these archers, unfortunately. But the good thing about mercenaries is that you don't have to actually devote resources into them. They're just straight gold dump. So if you have excess gold, which these two AIs will have, and we already watched this one, we don't need to watch it again. All right, let's see what Ulm's up to. And they're actually pushing out, which is good for them. Alleycat, you're asking, how do you get your previous live streams to come up in the video tab thing? Are you talking about like when I'm re-hosting my own videos? I believe you have to go to the dashboard, and then there's like a DVR function where you can put your old videos on there, and you can create a queue and start it. I'm not too familiar with it, but I feel like since this stream, or this series rather, doesn't get a whole lot of attention, I thought that it might be nice to have some reruns so that if someone's just coming around and seeing if there's anyone streaming Dominions 4. It's not, Dominions 4 isn't an old game. It came out, I think, in 2005, or 2015 rather. But not a whole lot of people play it. The only people that I know that play this game are on V, 4chan V, or 4chan VG for the Dominion subboard. Do I have a 3DS? Yeah, Ardos, I have a 3DS. I play a lot of Pokemon. A lot of Pokemon, a lot of Shin Megami Tensei. I love Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. You know, I didn't actually have high hopes for it because originally the game was just going to be like a DLC. Oh, man, See, this is what I don't understand about Ulm. Has the resources in Gold Game to actually afford their specific tier units from their faction. However, they're buying a militia, like we already watched this, but they're buying militia. I don't understand. They lost both of these battles because they went heavy onto the militia, and where did they get, they just buy them from this territory? Where did they buy these militiamen? Were they mercenaries? I'm incredibly confused where Ulm got those like neutral mercenary militiamen. That's unfortunate for them. They've only taken one territory at this point. Yeah, I love me some Pokemon, Alleycat and Ardos, I really do. I've been playing it since I was in elementary school. My older brother and sister rather, got me into it. Like they had red and blue, and then I eventually got gold and silver, and I just been playing it since. But as I've said, these strong, what are they even called? They're just LA Legionnaires. So yeah, they are Legionnaires. But yeah, any of the Legionnaire-based units, like any of these Roman factions, Kino, top tier. And they're actually building some Serpent Cataphracts. These are effectively their only cavalry option for Pythium. But this is the placement of the AI. Sometimes they make some really amazing placement options. This placement option isn't really very good because the thing with cavalry is you want them on the flanks. You either want them at the far north or far south of your game placement board, so that when they move out, they will actually try to flank the enemy. Like if you were actually in a tactical position, cavalry flanking archers or flanking like infantry is what they're basically were used for. No, I don't have Yokai Watch, Ardos. Nah, unfortunately, I didn't get into the Yokai Watch fad. My sister's, one of my sister's kids got really into Yokai Watch. Oh no! The Ichthyids were taken out because one of my sister lives in Japan, so obvious, it was really huge in Japan. But anyway, look at this map. Pythium. Oh, see, this is what I was talking about before. You guys can't, like, no one can take my my assumptions right, because I was assuming Ulm was gonna steamroll through this, but Ulm is stagnating and potatoing incredibly hard. I really blame it because the AI I don't think has like knowledge of the power of the priest-smiths and then the normal smiths here. Like, you cannot undervalue this resource bonus. What does the resource cost for a smith? So a smith only costs 7 resources. So when you build a smith, you're effectively making the next turn, you have made a profit already of 3 resources. So if you just keep buying them every turn, you're just constantly increasing your max resource count, and you can continue to buy the really resource heavy units such as the Black Knight. But like I don't see any commanders being built for them. They have a treasury of 2,484 gold, which allows them to buy pretty much a lot of the units here and a lot of the mercenaries, but unfortunately, they're not doing so. Yeah, like I wish I'm a huge Weave Alley cat. Like if anyone's seen my Facebook, not my Facebook, but my YouTube, like it's pretty apparent. Like you can look at my likes and favorites. They're public, so like it's a lot of weeby stuff. So I really wish I could live in Japan. I've only been over there once to visit my sister after her first kid was born. It was a hell of a lot of fun, to say the least. I spot so much shit when I was over there, and they're doing it. Ulm's doing it. Ulm is doing it. I'm proud for them. They're finally taking another territory. They've been in a situation where they've stagnated nonstop, but I don't know about this territory expansion. It's right on the border of the war machine that is Pythium. But anyway, when I was in Japan, like I bought a crap ton of stuff, and most of it was Monster Hunter related, because back then, and still to this day, I really freaking love Monster Hunter. I've been playing Monster Hunter on the PS since the PSP, Monster Hunter 1 when it was ported to the PSP. And I've played every mainline release since then. That was actually released in the States, because I haven't imported any of it. Though I might have to import Double Cross, because it doesn't look like that's being localized, unfortunately. Yeah. Us weebs, we need to stick together. We gotta stick together. Ulm's really letting me down. I had these units right here, these war dogs. Any type of unit that is basically killed in one hit. War dogs are a little bit better than wolves because they do have the male barding here. But it's such a bad choice. Why is the AI putting points into that? They have the money to be putting. I'm actually really upset here. Like, what is Ulm doing here? War dogs, if you don't understand some of the base mechanics for Dominions 4, which is very likely not a whole lot of people play it, there's a thing called morale, and if units in a control group die, if enough die, the unit will break. Also, if units are breaking, it lowers the morale of everyone else on the field on your side. So when you have units that are basically killed. Also, this priest dude got incredibly lucky. He cast Smite and killed the enemy's general, and when you do that, you force anyone attached to them to rout as well. So that was very lucky for Ulm there. But anyway, fodder units, I hate them. I think no one should ever buy them in any situation. Your money and your resources are spent elsewhere, spent better elsewhere. Because if you send in like 20 wolves, and maybe those wolves, they do some decent damage, they kill like 4 or 5 guys, then they get counterattacked and all of them die, like 2 of them survive or whatever, they run through your own units, then your incredibly defensive, let's say, Ulm shield dudes, which aren't these guys, they start to break because the wolves break. That's unfortunate though. All right. Well, we've seen bigger upsets. The last match that I casted for this, it was Zabalba versus Nazca, and Nazca had a very strong start, very similar to Pythium's start here. But in the end, they started to falter against Zabalba's way better sacred units than Nazca, and the frog people took it. So, I mean, we might see that here. We're seeing war dogs. Oh, no, this is the war dog one we already watched. I'm already losing track of things here. But let us go and see what's happening on the map for Pythium here, so we can get a general gist of territory expansion. So Ulm has taken only a couple territories. Pythium doesn't have a whole lot of reinforcement options here, though I would be willing to bet that Pompeius here and his group of Algaea legionnaires, I'm sure they'll be able to take any of these territories. Though they haven't been building a whole lot of units. They have some Lion Tribe guys, and they're building cataphracts, which are okay. I mean, battle vestals are their sacred units, so that's good for them. Though they have Hydra costs 250 gold, and you're gonna get 1 per month. They have the money to buy at least 1 Hydra. I mean, 1 Hydra in itself is not gonna win you a battle, but when you have something that can tank massive amounts of damage because its ability to regenerate 10% of its HP per turn, as well as have a large HP pool to begin with, there's no reason not to go it. But like, this is a relatively small force here backed up by mercenary archers. So I think they actually would be able to take down this force, even though the enemy, or the neutrals here, are knights. Knights are pretty good. Knights are pretty good. Even the neutral knights are not something to joke around about. But the pikeneers, or these are halberdiers, or these are guardians actually. Oh man, I actually messed that up. These are guardians, one of the more expensive units that can produce. So there was no way they were going to lose that fight. It's a good fight for Ulm. Ulm needs to continue to make good engagements. We can't see them make crazy plays where they're fielding like tier 1 militia neutrals against other neutrals and then losing all of them, like completely wasting their gold gain per turn. But this is what I like to see. I would like to see obviously more recruitment of commanders here, and specifically master smiths. But this general unit composition right here is typically what I go early game. I add a little bit of pikeneers into that, so I have like maybe 2 or 3 pikeneers and then like maybe the rest shield guys. Put the pikeneers behind the shield guys and just hope and pray for the best. I would like to see maybe 1 black knight. I'm surprised they're not going any cavalry at this point. I mean, they have the bonus resource gain and the bonus gold gain. Same thing with Pythium, because that's the nature of this tournament. Both factions get 50% more growth, resource, and gold every turn. So even if they're kind of potatoing, they still have the ability to be competitive here. But this force is starting to get out of hand for Pythium here. As we can see, these are the blessed units. We can look at the blessed effect. Blessed effects are based upon your pretender god stats. As you can see here, we have a Elefanor has a +9 on fire because he doesn't have +5 attack skill. So every one of these white like pike dudes are getting +4 attack skill. Flaming weapons, which do additional burn damage. They also get reinvigoration +4 and protection +5. With those two come from level 9 earth magic. So Elefanor has +9 earth magic, +9 fire magic. And if you ever want to look at the stats of any god in this game, any nation, or see their win rates, just click on the down below the little stream here, and there's a bunch of little pictures that you can click on, and you'll be taken to a spreadsheet with a bunch of useless information. But if you're ever curious to see the stats of a nation or anything of like that, you can just click on there and see what's going on. I've made a lot of pivot tables in that. That if you don't know what a pivot table is, it's basically an Excel document that like somehow correlates 2 different like values. So I'm thinking about having some more pivot tables on there and correlating win rate to different domain strengths. Like let's say the domain strength of growth, maybe a growth 3 has a higher win percentage. I haven't done it yet because we haven't completed the first tournament, but that was a very bad attack by Ulm here. Again, Ulm is letting me down. This is one of my main factions here. They're a very strong faction to say the least, and they are not having a very good showing in the slightest. And so, I don't know what the AI is doing here. They can't afford these Black Knights, hence why they're like they're like 50% opaque here. You can see through them. So they can't actually afford these, but they're deciding to build, I don't even know how many here. They can't build them. Instead, they're building war dogs. Maybe I should start valuing nations that don't have fodder units a little bit higher than nations that have fodder units like war dogs or, wolves or harpies. But then at the same time, if we look back at some previous matches, like the Pangaea matches, Pangaea has harpies, I believe, as their low tier unit. And sometimes we'll see them, geez, Pythium, why would you make that assault? The units it had were villains that Pythium fielded there. They're basically the lowest tier of archers, I believe. I've never bought them in my entire life of playing this game, because there's no real need to. Like, money spent better elsewhere. Even if you can't get as many units, a single like cataphract would kill like 15 or so villains just by itself. This is the nature of cavalry here. The Amazon neutrals have been taken out, which is actually a good thing for Pythium here, because that typically means if the neutrals are fielding a special type of unit like Amazons or Pegasus or things like that, typically the province that they just took will have the option to recruit them. And Amazons, and specifically their cavalry option of the Raptor Riders, are very good. I think it would actually be a good complement to Pythium's Serpent Cataphracts, because it looks like the Serpent Cataphracts aren't as quick as normal cavalry, whereas the Pegasus riders or the the Raptor riders of Amazons would be able to get to the flank a little bit easier. So that would be quite interesting if we get to see that. But look at this force outnumbering. There was maybe a 2-to-1 ratio of independent militia here. There's not a whole lot of legionnaires. Sure, they're breaking now, but I think the damage is done. Or not. Oh, wow. I guess they lost one too many of their slingers here. That was unfortunate. That was their match to win. If the like 2 to 3 more of these militia died, the independent armies would have had the routing issue rather than Pythium. But Pythium can make these calls. They can make these bad assaults. They're in a dominating position at this point. Ulm is just like gasping for air. Even though Pythium made 2 bad calls here, they still took a territory. I mean, we can't overlook that. They still took this territory, and actually, unfortunately, well, fortunately, it is an Amazon province, so they can get Jade Maidens, which are sacred, and their cavalry. They have not the best armor in the world, but it's some decent protection values. It's the fact that they're cavalry and they're Amazons on top of that, so it really actually works well for them. But Ulm is stagnating. I think they're eyeing this corner province that is being protected by mountains. If they take this, it's very unlikely that Pythium comes for them. And as you can see, this faction right here is my spectating faction of me. If this province gets taken out by either of these factions, the one who takes me out wins. If neutrals take me out, or if I'm dom killed, whoever has higher dominion, which are these little candles right here, is the winner. That is the main win condition for this game mode. But let us see what is happening. We still don't have a battle against Pythium and Ulm, unfortunately. I don't think we're going to get one for quite some time. The AI doesn't like to necessarily start wars unless they know they have the overwhelming advantage. Or they have the aggressive AI personality, which I have no control over in this series. And I just realized that the Serpent Cataphracts are one of the few... where is he? I missed them, but they're one of the few cavalry units that can function without their rider. So in that battle, one of the Cataphracts lost their rider, but it still was attacking as a serpent, which actually is pretty nice. It's effectively like a 2-live system. And once again, what is with this army placement? We have the more expensive units. I guess tanking, they have the ability to, because they have like full black plate mail, but it's better to put the fodder in front. These black plate infantry, they have. If we look at the protection, it's like off the scale. See, these guys have 21 and 22, which is pretty good, but look at this: 22, 21, and then the tower shield gives an additional 16 protection. Sure, they're pretty much hit by anything because they're weighted down. If you're unfamiliar how like damage is done in Dominions 4, then I guess the easiest way to relate it to is like it's like a D&D damage-based system. So you have armor classes and evasion. Basically, like the heavier the armor you wear, the easier it is for your opponent to hit you. But to do damage, it's harder to do damage. So it's like a give and take. So these guys are essentially just tanks. Like if you have them on the front line, they're gonna take the hits, but they won't necessarily take a lot of damage. And as for HP, they have a decent HP pool of 12. Most attacks that I see done on them is like around like maybe like a 5 or a 4. Like as you can see, like these guys have like a slightly lower armor class and they're taking 5 damage, but they're way more expensive, and I don't know why they're fielding them in the front line. And we already watched this battle, by the way. We watched it on the Pythium side, and I forgot, but we had to see it again. There's no reason not to see it again. As for expansionary mindset here, this is a huge force of barbarians that Ulm is fielding. Like it is, like there's a lot of it's crazy how many barbarians they're fielding here. Too many war dogs for my liking. I'm surprised that they just don't take the war dogs out of this and put the barbarians into it. Maybe that's what they're planning for next turn. But this is a pretty decently organized assaulting force by the AI. It's one of the better ones I've seen, but we'll see if that actually really even comes into play. And they are indeed going for this province. It's pretty obvious that they were planning on doing it. They have a sizable force, even though they're not even fielding the entirety of it. I guess they didn't really need to against barbarians, but these war dogs are going to die almost instantly. See, it's so bad for them. Like, why? Those War Dogs took out 2 enemy units or something like that, maybe 3. Then they end up losing almost all of the War Dogs, if not all of the War Dogs, causing lower morale for all of their units because they're breaking. It's just a waste of currency. I'm gonna say it until my dying breath here. It's a waste of your gold and your resources. I'm pretty sure War Dogs don't cost a whole lot of gold. I think they're more resource dependent, so it's a resource sink rather than gold. But you have other units that you can be building. Why are you going into this weird path of going for like not very many shield dudes? You're getting some black plate infantry, which is good, but you're putting just way too many points, a single point of resource or gold into a fighter unit of the tier of War Dog, or Wolf, or Harpy, or Crow. It's not worth it. It is not worth it, friends and family. It is not worth it. Maybe there's some way to make the 7 gold, 7 resource War Dog really work out, but being undisciplined and being an animal requiring someone with Animal Tamer to really take advantage of that, I just don't see it ever really happening. It looks like there's some stalling going on by Pythium. I mean, as I keep saying, they are in a position where they can indeed stall. They have such a commanding lead at this point in total of like provinces. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're winning, but they have a relatively equally strong Dominion as Ulm. Maybe not the strongest in terms of raw production, mainly because they rely on their sacred units and sacred blessings because their god has devoted so many of their creation points into fire and earth magic, so that these guys right here get the reinvigoration, which helps out with battle fatigue and fire weapons. But there's a lot of investment going into that, so it makes me think, if I'm recalling, that Eliphanor, the god of Pythium, is an imprisoned god, whereas Hephaestus, the god of Ulm, is dormant. Maybe they're both imprisoned. I'm not I can't honestly remember. Yeah, as you see that we have a cataphract here without a rider. I'm sure it does get less damage because it's only got like the bite. Yeah, it's got the poisonous bite, which no slouch. Poison damage is effective. And it looks like Ulm is actually moving down. Maybe this is what Ulm needed. And Hephaestus has risen as a dormant pretender god, so we'll check out his stats in a little bit. +1 heat scale doesn't affect Pythium at all because they're already at +3. They can't go higher. Some of their border provinces are going to be affected by this, yes, because they're not as strong with the Dominion. But the unrest is actually going to be worse for both factions, severely so. I would be surprised if they don't take this. They've been amassing forces on this border for quite some time. They're finally doing it. They're finally fielding some Black Knights. It's what I like to see here. Black Knights, I think they're like maybe like 25 to 50% like generally stronger than normal neutral knights. Let's take a look at them. Like protection wise, they're off the scale, and I think like 25% I think is like a good estimate for like the general battle strength. But that's because, you know, they're an Ulm specific unit and they are more expensive, but they're way better. Looks like we have the Pioneer squad of mercenaries that have been hired by Ulm. Giuseppe and his Pioneers. We're seeing them again. A lot of these factions hire Giuseppe and his Pioneers. I've noticed. I've seen them. I don't want to say in every match, but I would be willing to say that I've seen them in like at least 80% of the matches. Like I don't know why the AI values them so high. I don't see a whole lot of the Elephant Squad mercenaries. Which is kind of surprising. They're not that good, but if you can see them early game, you definitely want to take them. Oh, Duran's Cavalry is, I mean, it's not the best merc squad, but like one of these factions should indeed pick it up. Ulm has way more than enough money to afford it. But let's check out Hephaestus here. He doesn't have a whole lot of stats. His nation is more based around production, and I don't believe Ulm has any sacred units at their disposal, so buffing magic on him is almost completely useless. He's more like to stay back and forge magical items with his Master Smith. And sure, his magic is a little bit low, so his ability to do so is kind of hampered. But that's what the ability to enhance your magic comes in with the magic gem. With magic gems, so they can probably increase his level once, I think, with the amount of earth gems they have, if they really wanted to. But I doubt the AI is gonna make that type of move. I'm starting to be really concerned with Pythium here. They're pulling a Nazca. They're starting to build up some forces. Yeah, true. But they pushed out incredibly hard, but then they just stopped. They don't want to declare war on but that doesn't even matter. They still have some neutral territories that they need to take before takes, before we get to the stage where war is basically declared between the two factions. Whereas is starting to make a solid steamroll procedure. They're starting to snowball, ladies and gentlemen. They're starting to snowball, which is actually, I'm really happy to see. I'm not gonna hide my desire for to at least win one round in this. Like any of the factions that I play personally, I'm obviously gonna be a little bit more biased to. But yeah, these barbarians are no slouches. If you've seen any of these other videos, or if you've played Dominions, you know that barbarians hit like trucks. They can pretty much die to anything in one hit because they have effectively 0 armor. But the ability for them to just like do like 30 damage a swing, kind of destroys forces. But they were almost able to hold it because of their incredibly high defensive strength. Is Giuseppe gonna win this? Oh, is he really gonna win this? Oh man, I'm honestly surprised. I thought those swordsmen were gonna hold a little bit longer, allowing the archers to take him out. I'm blown away. I didn't honestly think Giuseppe and his mercs were able to take that. But took 2 territories in one turn. This is a very bad position for Pythium to be in. They're starting to give up their lead way too much. Like, they rested on their laurels for far too many turns. Wow, that was a weird way of saying turns. BT dubs. But let's take a look at the provinces. Like, look at this. Look at this graph, ladies and gentlemen. This Pythium graph. It's an insane early start compared to this graph. Let's turn off my little graph so we can only see the 2 AI pretenders. But then look. Oh, look at that slope. I feel like next turn, is going to tie provinces against Pythium. They're on their way of doing it, and they already beat Pythium on income, mainly because their Dominion's just a little bit better on income gain. Magic Gems, not so much. We've already seen that. And, oh my goodness. I mean, these might be the War Dogs coming into play because the army size, I'm pretty sure, is only unit count here. So, maybe the War Dogs are factoring into this, but has a very expensive unit base. And the fact that they're beating out Pythium, which has, I think, Slingers as their lowest tier unit, I'm a little surprised. I mean, not surprised at all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not surprised at all. I know how strong is. I've played very badly pretty much in my entire time playing Dominions 4. I don't know nearly everything at all. Like, I know just maybe 5% of this game, and I've spent like 300 hours plus playing this game across the years. I used to play this game between classes when I was in college all the time, or at least obviously not be able to do full matches. I would just start up a match as Airmore or and just see what I can do. And unfortunately, the neutrals are taking a Pythium territory, so this is actually very bad for Pythium here. They were already faltering against advances, and to lose one of their territories to the discord in the world, not a very good thing for them at all. Though is not making any moves, but technically it's still a +1 for because Pythium lost a territory and went neutral on territories. But, you know, Pythium will take this territory back this turn, I'm fairly certain, because they have a lot of forces on the border. They have a bunch of Lion Tribe archers, some militia mixed in with some lizardmen, just a lot of neutral units in general. Their southern force has got some cataphracts, some knights, and then their holy units, but they're not getting buffed? Why don't they have a priest with this unit if they're going to be fielding their sacred units? It's a little weird. But that's the beauty of the computer, man. You have no idea what they're gonna do. You have no idea why they are doing it. They're just doing it. And doing it well. This is a pretty sizable defensive force being fielded by Pythium. Unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna start moving up anytime soon until makes the first advance. I don't think Pythium will make the first attack here. We can't be doing this. They can't be stalling here. They're starting to amass a huge force on the border of Pythium, so this might be some good sign here. I feel like next turn, this incredibly large force, mainly of barbarians, I think is gonna take this neutral territory right here. Let's look at this army setup. Look how many barbarians they're fielding. Oh my god. Yeah, as I said, they do like 21 damage. I don't prefer the sword barbarians over the hammer barbarians. I feel like the slashing damage is like less valuable than the blunt damage. I'm not sure how damage calc works in this game entirely, but I'm pretty sure that blunt damage works better against certain armor types, heavier armor types. So that's what I like to field my field the hammer, war hammer barbarians for. But if we take a look at the Dominion here, without looking at the score graph, how is Ulm doing? I feel like they're doing all right here. They have their god out, which is actually spreading their dominion a little bit further. And actually, Hephaestus is making magical armor. He's making the Shambler skin armor, which is giving him protection, which is not really a thing, because why would he be moving out into the world? Though he does have water breathing because of the Shambler armor, I believe. So he might be thinking about moving a force to take some of these neutral territories, which puts him in a situation where he could take me out and win through the alternate win condition. But let us see. Pythium is on the offensive. They're doing it. Finally. I know I have my favorites. This is an assassination attempt, and they fail it. No, they're successful. It's a fail and a success. So they killed the enemy leader. So the forces that were tied to that leader, if a force goes into that territory, any forces that are tied to that leader that the assassin killed are going to immediately rout, which more than likely is the entire enemy forces. So that's good for them. But it could be bad for them if somehow Ulm makes it to that territory before them. It's incredibly unlikely. But we've seen the AI do more strange things than that in the past. I don't know. I like the Serpent Cataphracts, don't get me wrong. I like my cavalry in the game, and they are taking out the enemy horsemen, but they're not fielding very many of them. And they're also not functioning as full cavalry. I think it's obviously in part due to their speed. The speed is not as high as normal horses, and as such, the AI is not valuing them as cavalry as much, but all intents and purposes, they are cavalry units. So I'm a little shocked that they're not putting them on the borders, but the AI is doing what it's doing. We can't change it. But I'm saying this because if Pythium gets attacked by an equal-sized force, equal like resource force that has like 3 or 2 like Black Knights of Ulm, like how are these Cataphracts gonna do anything for Pythium here? Like I don't see how they're gonna really be a useful unit. Like they have the tank ability because of the barding on the Serpent and relatively decent defensive ability. But the thing about Ulm is that they have defensive like gear on everything, even their crossbowmen, like typically the weakest unit for any faction. Oh, and it looks like Pythium did indeed hire the Merc Horseman group. So that's good. And we're actually seeing a decent sized cavalry unit of Serpent Cataphracts. So this is what I like. This is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see amass a little bit more of them if they were going to go this like weird strat of not having them actually function as cavalry. Whereas as you see, the Mercs cavalry actually went for a flank position. They were on the northern side of the map. So they were able to get to the archers more effectively, even though there wasn't a whole lot of frontline enemy forces fielded by the neutrals. Mainly because I think that was indeed the province where the assassin of Pythium went in. But we've hit that point, ladies and gentlemen, where every territory, barring the water territories, have been taken by one faction or another. Or at least that's what I think. I think Pythium has these 2 territories. And as such, we might see a war in the near future. But it doesn't seem like it's happening right now. I think Pythium still needs to get this one last territory. Ulm has no other options at this point. They can be spending their gold on churches, which is a win con, And it seems like that's indeed what they're doing. They've bought 3 churches so far. If you don't know, churches spread your dominion further out, which is like, I'm on right now, so Ulm's candles are white. When I'm on Pythium's candles are white. Enemy dominion is dictated by these black candles, and this is actually a terrible, terrible thing for one of these factions, because if I go to my turn here, I am taken out if I lose all of my candles. It's called a dominion kill. Ulm has churches in all 3 of these territories pushing their dominion onto me. I have 1 left here, 1 left here, 3 here, 3 here, and 1 left in my capital. I'm very close to being dom killed by either faction. If Pythium takes one of these territories, like maybe takes this territory or goes into the water, I'm in a terrible spot. And I think actually Pythium might end up winning. I'm not too sure. I don't want to like spoil myself and check these score graphs for Dominion, but I'm just looking at the map. You know what? No, I take that back. This is like, they have a lot of like just 1s and some low numbers, but oh, what is happening? Ulm's really like pushing the Dominion out here. They weren't doing so for a while, but actually, I don't know. I think they're relatively even here. I mean, it's hard to call. It's hard to call. Sure, you could pause the video if you really desired, and you could probably count the candles and get a more accurate count. But we have a potential war starting here. This is only a sneaking enemy that Ulm is sneaking in Pythium's territory as a spy. So it doesn't necessarily mean that a conflict is going to break out between the 2 AIs. However, this is not only a spy, it's an assassin. So maybe the computer will definitely see this as a threat and start a all-out war against Ulm. Maybe Ulm will see this as their opportunity to attack as well. But I really give a whole lot of credit to whoever attacks first, because if you attack first, it's very likely that you're going to cause your opponent to scramble here. However, I don't see any good attacks by Pythium. All of these attacks by their forces are going to be losses, I feel. There's just, what is with Ulm buying barbarians? Like, they have better units that they could be spending their money on. Immensely better units. They're going crossbowmen, which is good. The crossbowmen really do complement the tanky style of the race. If you have a really strong front line of shieldmen and you have a lot of crossbowmen in the back, the shieldmen buy enough time for the crossbowmen to destroy enemy morale with constant barrages. But we have a neutral attack here with some dire wolves and some normal wolves. And yeah, this shows how bad wolves are. Wolves are taken out by a couple of the lowest tier of units. We have neutral militia and neutral archers that were owned by Pythium, of course. But this is why you don't build wolves. I don't see how they're ever good. Like, it's really hard for me to see the use for them. I'm 300 or so hours into the game, and I still haven't figured a use for them. But it looks like Pythium got a free commander. It's a hero, Hero Gallus, the hero. He's kind of a nice random name. He's a Serpent Cataphract dude commander, so that's pretty cool for them. But it seems like both factions are at this point in the game where they're stalling. I don't think either of them have the aggressive AI type of personality, which is making it a little bit harder for one of them to make the offensive call to start the war. This is how the AI works in this game. They typically don't start conflicts, as I said, unless they're really sure that they're going to win. But if we just, in this turn, if there's not a conflict, if we just take a look at the forces being fielded at the border of Pythium rather than Pythium's forces in the back, they have a fortress they've built really like right by Pythium here. Like, Pythium is like in very, very dangerous position here with an enemy fort buying a bunch of like fodder units, yes, because they're barbarians and neutral archers, but there's just so many units on Pythium's border on all sides that if Pythium makes an assault against Ulm, they're deciding their death warrant. But it's only a matter of time before Ulm decides to take them out. Though, and we must have standard or defensive AIs on both factions here, unfortunately. And I still am a little confused by why the faction of Jabero hasn't been taken by this force right here. It must be relatively well defended. It's unfortunate that we can't actually see the defense of that province. Actually, we can. If we go to my turn. Oh, it's got 50, only 50 Ichthyid warriors? Come on, Pythium. You can easily take that out. Any of these water territories are easy game. All they have to do is take Hephaestus, or has to take Hephaestus because he's got the water breathing trait because of his magical gear. And we're having it. Woo! I don't think this is going to be another 2-hour video. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind streaming for 4 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But when I have one match that goes for 2 hours, it kind of drains you. And when you have 2 matches that go back to back 2 hours, it's a little draining. So this is this is a neutral assault. Yeah, this is another Sea Dog neutral assault against Pythium. Though Pythium has fielded many more defensive units in this province, so those Sea Dogs aren't going to do a whole lot. But this is what I'm talking about. We have 2 assaults. Nope, never mind. I didn't read. They're only sneaking enemies. Never mind. We might have another 2-hour game on our hands. Just can't decide if they want to assault here. I think what they're trying to do potentially is get an assassin in there and kill one of the enemy leaders to lower the number of units fielded. However, failing this, they keep getting spotted. Like this is like the same province. So they had 2 units in the exact same province with the hopes of assassinating, which is unfortunate. Though that's a pretty decent sized army fielded by Pythium, but that's like their largest force. All the rest of their units are relatively like they're trash units, but so is Ulm's buying trash neutrals. But let's look at the statistics here. Like Ulm's got to have like double. I would be willing to bet. If we look at the score graphs, they have more than double. Research is like relatively even. Income, forts. Actually, Ulm's got less provinces. I mean, I'm not really surprised. They've not taken anything in quite a number of turns. They need to be aggressive, but they're just refusing to. It's a little strange. They definitely have the military might to make one of these calls, and they might just lose if a Dominion victory happens to kill me out. And it has happened. This is exactly what I was talking about. We're gonna have a match that doesn't have any like direct conflict. So this is a theological victory for one of these factions. Neither of these factions have actually made an aggressive call against one another. As you see, Yi Zid, which is the god that I am playing as, I use playing in air quotes here because I'm just spectating the match. I have been Dominion killed because I have no provinces left with my own Dominion. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we go into the score graphs, let's take a final look. If you are seeing these score graphs, and pause the video right now if you're on YouTube, and type in the comments below, who do you think wins? As you see, like, the provinces definitely are going to Pythium here. Ulm hasn't taken any in maybe an entire game year. Did Elefenor even get fielded? I don't even think Elefenor came out. So that's a huge negative to Pythium here because their god wasn't spreading their dominion. Forts relatively even here. Income really towards Ulm, but that, as I said, that's not a surprise at all. Research relatively even. Army size we saw is more than double. Here we go. Just barely. I hope you guys can see that. There is probably maybe like 3 millimeters, maybe 1 millimeter. I'm not entirely sure difference between the two factions, but we have a winner. Ulm barely itches out Pythium here. That's insane to me. You know why? If Pythium didn't have an imprisoned god, they probably would have won. Even if their god only had like a dominion growth scale of 1, which is not the case. They have a dominion strength of 6, and we can double check that by I think it's 6, I think. Maybe it's 7, by the number of holy points they're getting per turn. So they probably would have won if their god got fielded, but unfortunately, they didn't make it in time. I think it takes like 3 years, maybe, on average, for a imprisoned protector god to come out. But they just didn't get lucky, and their god is still imprisoned, and as such, they've been taken out. But we have a winner. Unfortunately, we're not going to have the grand spiel of being declared a winner here because I cannot watch it if I'm taken out. That is why there is this contingency. But we do have a winner here. The winner of this third match, I think it's the third match, of the lower division Dominions 4 AI Battle Season 1. The mouthful that is Thank goodness that did it. Holy crap, dude. I was worried that my one of my main factions wasn't going to make it through. I'm a little disappointed that my boys here in Pythium, they weren't able to take it with their war god. I mean, but if I had to pick a favorite, I have to go with my boys over at But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have to call it. My computer's getting a little warm and I'm dropping frames because of it. I gotta love living in Arizona, man. It's ridiculous. But I appreciate all you guys coming out to watch it, and by all you guys, I mean Ardos and Alleycat. I don't know if you're still in the stream, but I appreciate you guys coming out to watch. I really do. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. If you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, thank you guys for watching. This has been Pixelbane, signing off. Not yet. We gotta look at the bracket. We gotta look at the bracket, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the updated one because I haven't obviously launched Photoshop yet to change this. But Pythium is going to be out of the tournament, and is going to be versing Zabalba in the round 2 of the lower division bracket. Next match is going to be, actually, I'm really looking forward to this match, actually, is Atlantis versus Relay. Yeah, like I live in Arizona. Yeah, it was like 120 a couple days ago. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it is very hot in Arizona with this heat wave going on. But anyway, before I sign off, the next match is what I'm really looking forward to because Relay is one of my other favorite races to play in this game. It was one of my earlier races mainly because I loved Lovecraftian stuff since I was in high school. My favorite non-finished book, I guess, was The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. It was my influx into Lovecraftian stuff. Yes, before that I knew about Cthulhu, but didn't read Call of Cthulhu until after I knew about him. But Relay is a very strong aquatic nation, and actually it's 2 aquatic nations, Atlantis and Relay, are going up against each other. So the land advantage is not there. I'm really curious to see what the map generation is for that. But that will probably happen sometime tomorrow or in a couple hours maybe, because I probably should go to bed. It's like 12 in the morning. It's a little late for me where I'm at, but I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.